AmandaLand, AmandaLand, AmandaLand. Good. Good morning. Good morning. It's definitely giving sexual chocolate. Sexual chocolate. Sexual chocolate. Good morning. Okay, get your bank on. So good morning and welcome to Views from AmandaLand. And yeah, we are back. We are back and we have got a lot to cover. Ooh, child, we got a lot to cover. How's everybody doing? Maddie Andre says she smiled for the pic. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? We've been gone. You know what? I was going to start posting on Instagram just about the show, and my neck was like, no. My neck went nuts. And if anybody knows me, they know that my neck is my sixth sense of don't do it. Don't do it. And my neck said, don't do it. I said, okay. Can I do it on the Smart Funny and Black page? And it said, okay. It said, okay. So I posted it to the Smart Funny and Black stories. Okay. So anybody who's here because they saw the link on Instagram on Smart Funny and Black, let us know. Welcome to the community. Welcome to Views from AmandaLand. We are here for news and truths by any joke necessary. Thank you for waking up on the right side of history. Man, I shout out to my Patreon. You know, the Patreon subscriptions have been going down, and I really think it's because of people losing their jobs. That's what I think it is. I think people are losing their jobs, and Patreon is my job. So that's not good for me. We gonna be all right though. We gonna be all right. Pantada, is Pantada Villarreal here? Is Pantada here? If she's not here, can y'all let her know I'm looking for her when she does get here, because she said she emailed me and I can't find the email. But Pantada Villarreal is here. Okay. Pantada, where did you email me? So Patricia, I did a live on Saturday on Instagram just because people been saying, we miss you, girl. Like in the streets, people been saying that. And so I say, you know what? Let me just check in with the kids, with the children. Let me just check in with the children and see how they doing, and remind them that we over here doing what we're doing, right? We're over here doing what we're doing. And see, Alan Kofi said that live was deep. I left it up, so you can go watch it. It is on YouTube, Amanda Seals. It is on my Instagram. I'm wearing some pants today that have a slippery material. And when I tell y'all, I really am like this. Like I'm fighting. I'm fighting not to slide off the chair. I'm fighting. But I also want to let y'all know that the pants are a small. And even though the pockets is winking, you know I don't like when the pockets is winking, okay? Even though the pockets is winking, I'm in them, okay? I'm in them. I also want to let y'all, thank you, Jonathan. It's the Tykes. It's the Taekwondo Kia, okay? And my Master Michael tried to tell me that I could test for my next belt this week. I said, Master Michael, chill out. Okay, yes, 22 Superwoman. I am fighting for my life in this chair. Okay, fighting for my life in this chair. I hate a winky pocket. I can't stand it. And part of it is because from being on television, I'm so conscious of how clothes look. And I'm just like, why? A winking pocket is when the pocket is doing this. It's winking. It's like, why is this pocket doing this? It's because the circumference of the booty is and the hip is stretching the fabric, and it's doing this. It's really a wincing pocket if we're keeping it a hundo. But I had to cover up the B because Pharrell be doing too much with the IDF. He just be doing too much with the IDF. I really like Pharrell as a person. I've met him. I didn't even. Oh man. I didn't know. You know, so now he be doing stuff with Izzy, so I could wear it, but I gotta cover up the brand because I'm not with that. I'm not with that. I know Kimberly, he knows I'm advanced, but I'm just like, I can't. No, like, let's keep it slow. But I will tell y'all, my knife hand, neck attack. Like it's okay. Okay. Ha! Neck attack. Yeah. 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 Listen, don't play with me. Don't play with me. Okay. I'm just trying to tell y'all. So good morning to everybody. We're going to cover a lot today. I hope everybody is locked in. We have a lot of teaching to do. Basically, I go through a crisis of conscience around every 3 weeks of like, what are you doing, Amanda Seals? What are you doing for the people? What are you doing for the people? And I think sometimes I be feeling like if I can just like one episode is going to change the world. And it's like, no, that's not how it works, baby girl. That's not how it works, baby girl. You just got to keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. But I will tell y'all this. Sometimes I be feeling like, okay, am I doing enough? Because I be like, because we're so tricked into thinking that, and I say this all the time, so just let me get it out so we can move past it. Okay. Just let me get it out so we can move past it. But we've been tricked into like, if it ain't a bunch of people, then it's not really doing much. And that be playing with the mind, y'all. That be playing with the mind. That be playing with the mind. So some of y'all be counting on YouTube to give you notifications. And what I need y'all to do is I need y'all to just put the notifications in your phone. Okay? Just put it in your phone. Put it in your phone, in your calendar. Okay, Jessica, thank you. Because I really be like, why haven't I saved the world yet? What? That's what I be thinking. I haven't saved the world yet. Like, that's really what I be thinking. Okay. So, but I went to Grenada. So big up to the people. Big up to Grenada. Yes, Miss Latia, because you is quantity, Miss Latia. You is quantity. All y'all's quantity. I went home. I went to Greens, and I had a really, really good time because it was a different kind of visit. But I had a really good grounding on the island, grounding on the island. And I realized also, I was really surprised by how many people in Grenada knew me, but not just from a TV show, but like they know the work we're doing. So you just have to stick with the work we're doing, eh? I just have to stick with the work we're doing. Sometimes it'll just feel as though like, oh God, like, oh, these strippies, they just have so much power. Fatima, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that, Fatima. Don't say that. I feel like, honestly, so let me just say this. If we say the world is at the point where we can't save it, what that says to me is like we let them win. I will never even let them think that they win. Never. Fatima, don't go down the road of cynicism to where they convince you that they got you. Nope. Exactly, Captain Jess. We is the world. We is the children. All the children. We all the world should make a brighter day. So let's start living. There's a choice we're making. Y'all, we're saving our own lives. It's true. We can make a brighter day. For who? For you and me. All right? For you and me. Shall we find out who is here with us? If you have not, well, let me just do some quick church announcements. Remember, we do this Monday through Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start posting clips because now that my book, I've turned in the first manuscript. So I got a little break. So now I can really like work on other things. So now I can make sure that we have clips. So I will be posting them to the Smart Funny and Black page on Instagram. So that way you can share. Okay. Because we got to get the word out about this show that we do here. We got to get the word out. Please watch for 20 minutes. Please replay the episode. The replay crew, shout out to y'all. Replay crew be in here. Okay. Replay crew be in here. And shout out to all of my subscribers at Patreon. I know that disposable income is very hard to come by these days. So that $5 that you are giving to me, I know that it really is something very valuable, which means that I know I got to give y'all something very valuable. So trust me, I do not take it lightly that you all have been supportive of the work that I do and that you continue to consider the work I do a vital part of the work that you are doing. So thank you so much. Okay. That is not lost on me. Remember, if you don't want to subscribe, maybe you got a little extra dollars for the day. You can add a super to this live right here. Okay. You can add a super to the live right here. Remember to please drop a chat, probably drop a seal in the chat if you are feeling what we're doing, what I'm saying, all the things. All right. So let's do it. Let's find out where you guys are from. Hey, we back up in this BIE. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're coming from. Come on and tell me where you're watching from, y'all. Let's do it. Let's go. We got AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. We got Brooklyn in the house. Maine State of Governor. I'll see you in court. And she won. We got West LA, Oakland, California, Memphis 10, hey, Memphis, Maine. We got Greenville, North Carolina. We'll be talking about North Carolina later in the show. New York, Jersey. Miriam, welcome back. We got Fort Worth, Tejas for now. Istanbul. I think this might be our first Istanbul, y'all. Lima, Peru, Dallas, Tejas, San Diego, Charleston, South Carolina in the 843, Whidbey Island, Washington, Maryland, Stafford, Virginia, North Carolina. We got Philly, Atlanta, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Somebody is twerking in Chicago. We got Tampa, Florida. We got on the road in Hurricane, Utah. Glad we can keep you company. Drive safely. We got St. Louis while I'm in KCMO, Kansas City, Missouri, Buffalo, New York, New Orleans, Indianapolis, we got Chicago, Arlington, Virginia, Boston, Massachusetts, University Place, Washington, Warsaw, Wisconsin, Loveland, Ohio, Duval, AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. Miss Latiette is at exit 141 Parkway South, New Jersey, LOL. We got Markham, Ontario. We got Stockholm, Sweden checking in. We got rainy San Diego. It's rainy up here too, girl. We got Olive Branch, Mississippi, London, UK. We've got Hillsborough. We got La Défense, Valley, France, Atlanta, Newark, New Jersey, Queens, but currently in Charlotte. We got Rochester, New York, South Africa, Sweden. We got Copenhagen, Denmark, a Palestinian Jordanian squad. We got Kansas City, Harlem, Ciudad, Mexico City. I mean, we really are killing it. Puerto Rico. AmandaLanders here to learn. You is not in Burkina Faso, AG1. You is not in Burkina Faso. You just trying to get me hype up in here. You is not in Burkina Faso. You is not in Burkina Faso. You was not in Burkina Faso. I don't believe you, but nice try. We have a Trini in the building. We have a Trini in the building. Oh, man. I think we have to add Istanbul to the map. Turkey. Because I don't believe we have a pin for Turkey. Oh my gosh. I don't think y'all understand how happy I am to be back on my sleep schedule of going to bed at 10 o'clock and waking up at 7 o'clock, which I haven't been able to do because I've been writing the book and the book has just been making me go to bed at midnight. I hate it. I hate it. So I am so happy to be back on my regular schedule program. Boom. Istanbul, Turkey. Like, I've been up since 7. You know how much stuff I've done? I done already went to the post office, y'all. I was at the post office before the post office. How about that? How about that? Okay. How about that? So I need to figure out how to make like how to get flashcards made. Of course I'm going to do a book release tour. Absolutely. I need to figure out how to get flashcards made, because I want to make views from AmandaLand word of the day sets, but I want them to be about specific things. And then, so like, I want to do like a word of the day set. I haven't come up with a name yet, but it would include like words that are about change, like change maker terms. And there would also be some cards in there that teach you how to like make it a game. So yeah, like I want to make like flashcards, Tiffany. Maybe they don't have to be like big, you know what I'm saying? But do I want a black-owned business? Depends on what kind of blacks they are. If they're my kind of blacks, then yes. I want a business that understands the necessity to work within community. Your local printer does similar stuff? Really, Lysandra? Okay, I'm going to look around, because it's really about having the UV coating, right? It's really about having the UV coating. But for the record, there are high quality whites and there are right kind of blacks. There's high quality whites. Okay. And then there's right kind of blacks. What am I going to do for right kind of blacks? Right kind of blacks. Yeah. Right kind of blacks. Yeah. Yes. They do the coding too. You just have to find someone who isn't too busy to explain it all to you. Okay. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna find somebody that's not too busy to explain it all to me. Right kind of blacks. Mm-hmm. If Reagan said, take my money, you know, sold me at this point. Yeah. So that's the type of stuff I'm trying to figure out how to do. I woke up this morning with like 50, 11 ideas. Okay. And yes, a safe space to learn spades cannot be emphasized enough. That's it's like a safe space to learn how to cook, like do Caribbean cooking. Because they will shade you. Well, Slay Girl, you can't just say it don't feel right. You got to say why it don't feel right. I don't like when people just critique, but they don't get like it don't feel right. Why? Because you don't like the notes, because you don't feel like it's long enough, it's too short. Like what it, you know what I'm saying? You got to give me more than that. You got to give me more than that. Right kind of blacks. You know, I don't know. You want it more churchy, like you got to give me I like what makes criticism constructive is when you can construct with it. When you can build on it. Okay? That's what makes criticism constructive. Okay? And then I'm also working on 2 new sets of postcards. One set of postcards is going to be called Calling Cards for Ancestors. And so basically all the cards are going to be designs with ancestors that are on the phone. And you send those out to your peoples. And they'll have like messages on them that are, I still have to work out like the nuances of it, but essentially I want it to be like you sending it to your peoples as like empowerment message. It's not about like, oh, it's your birthday or whatever. It's just like, it's Resistance Day every day. Okay. It's Resistance Day every day. And then because we have June coming up, June is Black Music Month. June, it is Black Music Month also, but June is also Caribbean Heritage Month, and it is Pride Month. And so I want to do a series of prints of designs called Caribbean Queens that are all Caribbean members of the LGBTQIA plus community who have been impactful. Caribbean Queen, we'll be sharing the same dream, and our hearts will beat as one. No more love on the run. Well, Dana Cooper has a Black-owned Roberts Printing. All right. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna ask Unique as well. I'm gonna figure it out because I could probably get it done in China for $2, but we'll see. See, Krista says she's already sold on the postcards. I love sending personalized mail to my peeps. It's a lost art these days. Yes. Okay. You definitely did say a spades deck, which is why I was like, I'm not sure how this is helpful, but so wait, are you saying how to lose your job in 10 days that you know where I can get these cards made? Is that what all of this is? Is this what all this is? I'm not sure. I can't forget the tariff. That was my point. I could have been made in China for $2. I guess I didn't finish my thought. I could have got them made in the China for $2 in the China. Lord, I could have got them made in China for $2. Okay, for $2, but then it would be $50, $11 to get them sent. So I'm in the middle of my edit of my book, by the way. And when I tell y'all, I love my editor, but there sometimes be some cultural. She corrected 5011 to 50 to 100. Love her to death. She corrected 5011 to 50 to 100. I need y'all to understand. Another one is I had put in a sentence that somebody flew me out. No, I said in the sentence like, and he wasn't even offering to flew me out. And she was like, why not fly? Exactly. The girls are making their own oracle decks. So where am I need to figure this out. There are definitely card makers. The girls are making oracle decks. The girls are making all the things. Okay, thank you, girl. Thank you, sis. Thank you for doing that vetting for me. Okay. The editor is non-AAV educated. Sometimes, okay, so here's the thing. It's like with my therapist. Like at one point, I was like, I need a Black therapist. But then there became a point where I just need a therapist that gets me. And that means that sometimes we're going to have to translate some things. Sometimes I'm going to have to clarify some things. But ultimately, she gets me. And when you're such a particular, specific person like me, that is where your energy needs to land versus on these other specifications that that really don't allow for the actual work to get done. You know what I'm saying? So like I'm going to have a glossary in my book that I have somebody independently working on. But I think it's just that it really ends up being, does the person get you? Does the person get you? If they get you, then you can work with that. If they don't get you, then it doesn't matter whether they get AAVE. Okay? But I definitely want to show y'all this because I think it's hilarious, because I definitely had to explain 5011, and I did not expect to have to ever explain 5011, but I want y'all to see what my explanation was. Because this is why life is so funny. Like you just don't know what's ends up happening. This is what my explanation for 5011 was. She had replaced one with the doubles, zeros. I said, LOL, 5011 is an AAVE colloquialism for a lot. It was popularized by that's a typo, by the Yin Yang Twins in the song Salt Shaker. LOL, i.e., I done been to the club about 5011 times. Yes, Ross, I also want to do that. Yes, see? Now you're catching on. Now you're catching on. Now, see, what I would do, though, for this is I would do it in like a book, like a coloring book of Amanda-isms with doodles versus flashcards. Yeah. Yeah. I don't even think it's that I ideally want a Black. I just want a high-quality person. And that is non-ethnical. I just want a high-quality person. You know, one thing what happens when you start researching is you really start to see that, like, you can find high-quality people everywhere. And yes, that is how it will be published in the glossary. Okay? You can find high-quality people everywhere. Oh, that's really great. What is Chani? You know I love Zeitgeist. You know I love Zeitgeist. So you just want me to make a coloring book of words that I just overuse? Amanda gonna say Zeitgeist. Chani is Bay Area lore. What are y'all talking about? Y'all having an entire conversation in this chat that I don't even know. You know what? Let me get to my word of the day because y'all throwing me off. Okay. The word of the day is perspicacity. Perspicacity? I gotta look that up because I don't even know how to pronounce that. Perspicacity or perspicacity? Okay, let's see. Perspicacity. All right, it's perspicacity. Perspicacity. It means keenness in observing. Keenness in observing. Dang, I say deleterious a lot too, don't I? Shout out to Swanky Angelo for calling me on that one too. Perspicacity. Perspicacity is the word. Keenness in observing. It's a noun. Shrewdness is another way of saying this. Perspicacity. You know what's funny, Budsy Dowson? You said maybe a book you can have pictures of different pets with face expressions to highlight some of the points you're making. So I've been feeling like, why don't I be doing animal art? I love animals. Why am I not doing animal art? Why am I not making art of animals? So now I'm about to lean into that in a very real way. Y'all, stop yelling at me. Terry said myriad. I do be saying myriad, y'all. Let me write these down. Hold on. Why y'all blowing up my spot? Let me make use of it. Why not? Why not? I blow out my spot because it got hot. All right. Let me write these down. Y'all said, Amanda, you be saying these words a lot. Let me see the words. All right. So y'all said I say myriad. I say zeitgeist. Y'all said I say, what's the other one y'all said I say? Hold on. Y'all said I say deleterious. Oh. Deleterious. Oh, I say mycelium. Dang, I say imperative. This is funny because you don't realize stuff like this until people tell it back to you. Nonsensical, imperative, myopic. You know I love myopic, Patricia. Ooh. Someone said duplicitous. I say duplicitous a lot. You right. You know what's crazy though? Look at the words. This is terrible that these are the words. Silo. Yeah, I like silo. Silo and myopic. I'm mad that I have to. These are the words because look at where we at. Look at where we at. That's terrible. Juxtaposition. Okay, y'all doing too much now. Y'all said juxtaposition, egregious, nefarious, and nuance. Nefarious. Nuance. Oh my God, y'all are yelling at me. It's really loud. It's loud. Infallible. I definitely use infallible. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. This is my teacher review. Cool. 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 Myriad, zeitgeist, deleterious, nonsensical, imperative, myopic, duplicitous, silo, lexicon, juxtaposition, nefarious, nuance, infallible. Let's get to these sentences, y'all. Let's use perspicacity in a sentence. Perspicacity is spelled Perspicacity. It is a noun that means keenness in observing. Perspicacity. All right. Angela says, Amanda exhibits perspicacity on a variety of topics because she be knowing. Nadaleje says Captain Traore shows his perspicacity in Burkina Faso. Lysandra says Miss Seals expects that her assignments are approached with perspicacity. Yes, I do. And on Wednesday, we will be doing the assignment. We'll be doing the assignment episodes. I'm going to start looking through all of those today. Perspicacity. Miriam says collective perspicacity is not for the weak. That is right. And welcome back, Miriam. Jonathan says some perspicacity was on display when naming Amanda's frequently used words. That is very, very true. Danielle said, don't forget hubris. I don't really be using hubris like that. I don't really be using hubris like that. But sometimes you got to use it. Okay. So Megan gives us some etymology. It's from the Latin persoicacitas. Persoicacitas. And just so you know, those is it persoicacitas? Because those short lines mean a long A. Persoicacitas? Meaning thorough-sightedness, discrimination, a clarity of vision or insight that provides a deep understanding and insight. Because when it's a U over the A, that's a short A. So the long A is A, the short A is A. Persoicacitas. Okay? Persuasicates. So Carmen says, we need to practice perspicacity to discern between distraction from Donald Trump shenanigans and his harmful policies. And this right here is really important because he really is used as a clown, right? And so they put him out there to dance. But what I want to talk about later today, though, is how even when he's clowning, we need to learn how to, I would say, not discern between the distraction, but how to let the distraction point you where to look, because it's never separate. It actually do be aligned. So I'm going to talk about that a little later. All right. So, okay, I just learned something. In Latin, all C's are hard. All C's are hard in Latin. So it's actually persuasicates. 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 Thank you for gathering me on that. Learn me up, y'all. Learn me up. I didn't take Latin. I took Espanol, which is a derivative. All right. Persuasicates. A hard C is k. A soft C is s. So sounds in the English language have, they can do different things, right? So like some sounds don't, but some sounds do, right? So like C can be pronounced as a s sound or a k sound, whereas like T is always T. But if you're doing like speech, then, T has a fluttered T. So like the British use a fluttered T. So see, in American English, you would say British. But in English, you would say British. See how it fluttered on my tongue? British. It's a fluttered T. So, there's this language is full of mayhem. Okay, so now we're learning the long A in English is not the same as the long A in Latin. So it's not A. Learn it all. So it's persocacitas. Persocacitas. Okay. All right. This is what I love about Views from AmandaLand is that y'all are high level. Okay. High level. Y'all are high level. I learn, I teach, I learn, all of us. Okay. All of us. I took speech class. They, when they kicked me out of Purchase, about the Purchase acting conservatory, Tom, what was that man's name? Tom, I can't remember, but he really thought he was doing something. Them professors at Purchase and the acting conservatory really thought they was about something. And in hindsight, they wasn't about shit. They really was not. Amanda has an attitude. Amanda doesn't understand what we're doing. Okay? That's what's happening. That's let me stop because that's a whole other episode. I love that Miriam says she's in the house yelling the dang pronunciation. I can't hear you, Miriam, but I could feel you. I could feel you. Okay? I could feel you. So, are we ready? It's the top of the hour. It's about to be 11 a.m. Shout out to everybody who is now joining us here at Views from AmandaLand. Welcome. It is time for us to get into the show and get into some Black Hero news. Yeah.
Black Hero news. Politics. Black Hero news. Pop culture. Black Hero news. Sports. Black Hero news. Justice.
All right, y'all. Nature is squaring up with Israel. All right. They having a tough time over there. Let's take a look. Okay, so in the last few weeks, they have been beset upon. First, they had fires and floods. Okay. So where's this image? Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I done edited it and I didn't drop it in. So first they had fires and floods, but I want to show it to y'all. So let me get it because for some reason it did not send. even though I absolutely did send it, but whatever. So they have been, there's been a lot of videos, a lot of footage that people are posting of what's been going on. And, you know, I will say that we never want innocent people to be harmed. I'm going to say that. We never want innocent people to be harmed. Okay? We never want innocent people to be harmed. So when we look at what's going on over there, you know, it's really kind of trippy because it's like a lot of people are like, all right, well, this is Mother Nature handing them down, you know, because they, why is it doing this? Sorry, I'm having a real difficult time here, but I'm about to fix it in 2.2 seconds. And I'm sorry, it's Monday. It's a rough morning. Okay. Look at this. Okay. So they have wildfires raging across the country. They have even had wildfires. It started in the north and now it's like still going. But they even had a fire tornado. I ain't never seen a fire tornado, but they had a fire tornado. They've reached the military bases. The military bases had to get evacuated. And the fires are able to ripple through the country because Israel did an entire campaign when they committed the Nakba. That also followed the 1967 wars. You see that fire tornado? That's nuts. That don't even look like it's of this world. Okay? So they're also having severe flooding. They're having severe flooding. But I want to talk about the fires real quick because the reason why the fires have been able to move forward so egregiously, there's my word, is because there was a campaign that took place after the 1967 war where they started planting trees on the land of Palestinians that were supposed to make Israel look like Europe. Yes, I'm literally serious about this. They had an entire campaign that was, we're going to plant trees to make Palestine look like Europe. And so they planted trees that were not native to the land. And when you do that, you are absolutely going to disrupt in a negative way. So they planted a lot of birch and fir trees that are really flammable. So a lot of what's happening, and the reason, well, they were planting these trees also because it invaded, they were invasive species. And so the invasive species of these trees also disrupts the ability for the natural trees, the natural bushes, the natural herbs to be able to grow. And so this is what we talk about when we're talking about colonization. It's not simply violence by way of combat. There's also natural violence that is taking place. And this is an example of that. And so this is another reason why when they talk about, exactly like Zeb's NYC says, when they talk about they want to claim they're indigenous to the land, but they want to make it look like Europe. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Now, you know, this idea of disruption of land and violence and colonization goes back to many, many, many other examples. Like, I can tell you that in West Africa, when they were I think it was West Africa, but it was definitely on the continent. When they were colonized, they were forced to plant white beans because these colonies were used to then ship to the mainland, right? So the colonies were just being used to supply their colonizers. They didn't care about what took place in the colonies beyond their needs, beyond their wants. So they were planting white beans, and in the soil that they were planting in, it was not soil that was accustomed to white beans. And so what ended up happening was every time they planted, the soil ended up not being able to be re-enriched. So the topsoil was not able to be reused. So they literally eradicated the ability for the land to produce food. Yeah. So, yes, this is a great example. They have, like in Palestine, they have banned Palestinians from harvesting za'atar because they said it was endangered. But then they made mass agriculture for it and sell it as an Israeli spice. I saw that online as well. So these types of this type of eco-colonialism and ecocide is very effective also because it can be represented as, oh, we're taking care of the environment when you're actually destroying the environment. So nature is squaring up with Izzy. You know who else is squaring up with Izzy? Another force of nature, the Yemenis, because they ain't here for play.
على التصعيد الإسرائيلي بقرار توسيع العمليات العدوانية على غزة اليمنية أنها
video. Yemeni armed forces. I'm going to run it back so I can translate it for you. In response to the Israeli escalation and the decision to expand its aggressive operations in Gaza, let me make sure that you all understand this. Late last night, there was a vote and the flippin' Knesset voted to take over all of Gaza. Again, I want to remind you all, this never had anything to do with the hostages. It never had anything to do with the hostages. In response to this, the Israelis are protesting. I'll show you more of that. But this is Yemenis. They're also saying that in response to this, they are going to continue to fire on and pull a full aerial blockade on the Israeli enemy by firing on their airports. Now, they recently did land a rocket at Ben Gurion Airport. Now, what I want to remind you all about this is a great example of how we see resistance expand to infrastructure. And it is really ridiculous that it has to get this far, because this is when folks are turning it up. Like in the South African fight against apartheid, they labeled Nelson Mandela, they labeled him a terrorist because he had started with the ANC bombing infrastructure. They had started actually, placing explosives at places like electric plants, at places like water plants, etc. Now, these were not places where people were, but they affect infrastructure. They affect the utilities that are being used to provide convenience to the oppressor. And Nelson Mandela said, if they hadn't responded the way they needed to that, if the apartheid regime, because that was when the apartheid regime started to really, really, really like, okay, we're going to have to fall back. He was like, we were prepared to start harming people. But when we see the Yemenis saying we're going for infrastructure, they're like, yeah, we started with boats and y'all was not really like rocking with us. Y'all was still playing with us. So now we're taking it to another level. We just saw the IDF enact violence on the flotilla that is completely unarmed and full of humanitarian aid people bringing aid to Gaza, when we know that there has been a blockade in Gaza for the last 2 months. This is a completely human-made tragedy. You got the head of the World Health Organization who's like, yeah, we are allowing this. We are doing this. We are allowing this. So when we talk about these things, there's always like a ripple effect. There's always a reverberation. It's very easy to look at the Yemenis and say, oh, they are terrorists as well. Oh, they are going against the United States. Oh, they're harming innocents. And I just want to point out that Israel is actively harming their own innocents. They even admit to it. Like, look at this video and tell me that this is not an example of saying, yeah, we did harm some of our people, but I mean, like, we wasn't really trying to do that, but it just happened. So, it is what it is. Hold on. Why are these videos doing this to me today? It's making me look like I'm not prepared. And I really am prepared. I really am. So this is Bibi and his wife. This is Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife. Now, I want you to pay attention to what the wife said, because what the wife said is what has Israelis hot, okay, and has them in the streets, okay?
נשארו לנו, עד היום החזרנו 196 מחטופינו, 147 בחיים, יש עד 24 חיים, עד 24 חיים, אני אומר עד, והיתר כמובן לצערנו לא בחיים.
The Israelis are in the streets like, what's going on with these captives? What are y'all doing? Now, I want to remind you, they not in the streets because they want to end the apartheid in Palestine. They're not in the streets because they want to stop the onslaught of Palestinians. They're in the streets, those particulars are in the streets because they're like, you are literally harming our hostages. Why don't you care about our hostages? So Malta, the flotilla said, Malta said they will come and help the flotilla, but they won't dock it on their shores. Man, F Malta. Corny. So that's what's going on in Izzy. And I also just want to point out, and I really want to point this out, and we're going to talk about it later in the show, that there is so much effort going on right now to challenge Israel. And yet I see so many people that have still not made it their business to understand why. And I find that very, very bizarre. I just don't understand. Like, I would be like, why they keep talking about this place? Let me go learn up. But that's just me. Let's get into this next topic. We're going to switch gears completely from politics to pop. All right. Now, Beyonce's on tour again. I don't even understand. Again, with Cowboy Carter. And she has brought her daughter, Rumi, out. So Rumi has been doing a lot more appearances. She was at the football game, at the Super Bowl. Now she's on stage. You know, we all saw Blue come on stage and be dancing, and now Blue is dancing even harder and getting her thing together, okay? So let's see Rumi on stage. So folks are seeing Rumi on stage, and there's been some conversations that people are having where they are making commentary that they feel that she is exhibiting signs of autism. Now, I'm going to tell you now, I ain't got nothing to say about that. I have no commentary on that. However, I do have commentary on the commentary. Okay? I have commentary on the commentary. Because it's the internet, so like people are gonna talk. But it's what people be saying that on a bigger conversation around autism needs to be discussed. So let's talk about, someone said, okay, listen, y'all keep saying autism in the comments. People with autism usually have an issue with noise. Listen, she is a child, and even if she does have special needs, so what, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But let's talk about this first sentence. There's a saying that says, if you meet one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. There is no, it's not like something as basic. I don't want to say basic. It's not something as specific as Parkinson's. Okay. And I see you all in the comments. We're not here to talk about whether or not this child is autistic. So just stop that conversation now. Stop it. That's not the conversation we're having today. We are using this topic to have a greater discussion around how autism is discussed. So if y'all are in the comments having that, because you don't know whether you're right or wrong. So it's a stupid conversation to have. Okay? Like some of y'all are like, she maybe be this. It's a pointless conversation to have. You have no idea. Okay? You have no idea. What we can talk about, though, is the way we talk about autism. Okay? So when we say things like people with autism usually have an issue with noise as a way of debunking the validity that somebody with autism somebody who doesn't have a problem with noise isn't autistic, it is incorrect. It is erroneous. It's the same way that we act as if people with autism cannot be are not necessarily able to communicate. I told somebody that I'm autistic and they were like, well, you clearly don't have communication problems. And this is a very, 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 very smart person. And I looked at her and I was about to go in on her and I said, let me let it go. Cause she's just talking. She's just talking. But the truth about autism is that it is called autism on the spectrum because it shows up in many different ways. I personally believe it is not on a spectrum. It is on a wheel. Okay? It is on a wheel because it's not simply just left or right. The points of difference are all over the place. So I agree. So like someone like Ivory here says, I'm autistic. I love loud concerts, but hate loud noises in uncontrolled environments. I am the exact same way. I love a loud concert. I love live music. However, I do not like banging. I do not like chairs being pulled across the floor. It drives me nutty. I do not like sounds on a phone. Okay? I do not like the tapping sounds on the phone, and I don't want to hear sound coming from your phone. I don't like it. It disrupts me. I don't want to hear two songs playing at the same time. It disrupts me. It deregulates me. So we cannot make general statements like this because they are simply inaccurate. Another inaccurate statement that I saw in the comments. Yes, Pantara, that's why I say it's a wheel. The color spectrum is taught on a wheel because you can't teach color just on a rainbow. It's too complex. Okay, so another comment that I want to expound upon as we talk about autism is this comment: maybe other health impaired or significant development delays, few Black girls with autism. Now, this is simply just an idiotic comment. It is completely uninformed and is lacking in complete facts altogether. First of all, if she had said few Black girls are diagnosed with autism, I would have given her that. But the reality is that saying few Black girls with autism suggests that Black girls don't have a proliferation for autism in the same way that other young girls do. And that is simply not true. The reason why there is such a low number of diagnosed Black girls with autism is because, one, it is very difficult to get even tested for autism because of waiting lists and because of cost. But the main reason is because the pathology and study around autism is still very, very, very largely based on young white men. And the truth about being Black in this country is that culturally it exists differently. So I talk about in my book how I exist as Amanda, right? And if I'm being tested and evaluated by somebody who is not around a lot of Black women, how would they be able to, from their assessment, determine if I am showing up different than the cultural norm of my surroundings? They would have no frame of reference. So cultural competency is egregiously lacking within the autism spectrum disorder evaluation space. And we also know that when it comes to girls, period, we are oftentimes misdiagnosed by nature of patriarchy and by nature of expecting girls to display in the same way as boys. And if they don't, then they must not. That is absolutely erroneous. And we also know that the field of medicine in general is incredibly myopic and reductive and siloed. Okay? So when we are having these discussions, when we ignore the prevalence of racism, the prevalence of patriarchy, we are not having the real discussion, and we're actually harming not only the person we're talking about, but ourselves, because we're leaving ourselves open to, one, Amanda Seales coming in and talking about how ridiculous you are, and two, we're leaving ourselves open to not properly responding to the real root issues of things. And the real root issues of things in this country are always going to come back to patriarchy, racism, and classism. You know, I recently funded a young person getting their autism evaluation because they were having a really tough time in school, and their mother could not afford. Their mother is a friend of my friend, and the mother could not afford to get the autism evaluation. And I was like, okay, I'll just pay for it. But the reality, though, was that even once it was paid for, the child was still put on a waiting list. Now, they were able to get around this, but they were still put on a waiting list. And so for all the people who love to say to me, well, why aren't you being tested? Why aren't you getting evaluated? I'm not going to take up somebody's spot on the waiting list. Okay? I'm not taking up somebody's spot on the waiting list because I don't need the medical support. I don't need the insurance support. The Medicare support. And I don't need special school curriculum. I'm supposed to get tested so I can appease you losers? Girl, that's really what it is. I was about to go and get tested, and I realized I was only going to get tested so I could be like, see? And that just makes it like you all matter, the ones who are doubting it, and you don't. Okay. The word was accommodation. Thank you. Now, the last comment that I want to talk about was someone said, if Rumi is on the spectrum, just imagine how much progress could be made on scientific studies if Bay were to be an advocate for autism. The Carters have boatloads of money to donate towards this effort. I'm just saying. I think this is a really problematic way to look at this, because this is a child. And you're essentially saying that you're essentially suggesting that they use their child as a billboard for getting money for scientific studies. And I want to make it abundantly clear, they don't need the child to have autism for them to do that. They don't. They don't need to have a child with autism to use their boatloads of money to support studies and accommodations for children with autism. At a time when we see this jackhole, what's his name, RFK Jr., talking about creating an autism registry, well, let me just tell you, it's going to be a lot more safer for a lot of people in their minds to say, well, let me not get my child registered because I don't want my child to be put in this registry where these people can come and get them and turn them into 11 on Stranger Things, who is absolutely autistic. Okay? So they want to have this registry, and they know people are going to be less inclined to get tested because of this registry. And then they'll be able to say, oh, well, see, look, the diagnosis went down. So now that means that we cured autism. No. So these were 3 different ways that autism was being discussed that I felt were really problematic and that I felt needed to be addressed, so that when we're having these conversations, we can really be a lot more thoughtful in how we are moving forward in a positive and effective way, because we should be having the conversations around autism. Shamika adds, Black girls and boys are more misdiagnosed with ADHD because they expect kids to sit in the classroom for too long and not allowed to exert their energy. And I'm also going to add, also because there is a predisposition that Black children are not obedient and that Black children are rabble rousers. And this expectation comes from, hold on, slavery. The expectation comes from slavery. So, while y'all are here, Drea, what part of this did you not get? Like, we're not having that conversation. That's irrelevant. I hate when I be like so clear and y'all are still like, no, this is what I want to talk about. Like, let it go. I'm not having that conversation. I know exactly why, and I know exactly why not. We're not having that conversation. It's irrelevant. The real conversation is, how do we discuss autism? And the real bottom line also is that there is nothing negative about autism. Period. So when I see people say things like, ain't nothing wrong with that baby, even that is incorrect. Were she to have autism, there would still be nothing wrong with that baby. Ba-dum-bum. Okay. So there's that. Now, I think it's time we get into some 60-second headlines. Yeah. Yesterday was May the 4th. May the 4th. So May the 4th be with you. So let me give myself a little brain break while I play you all my May the 4th message. On this May the 4th, I just want to remind you that the empire are the colonial countries, you know, like the United States, you know, like England, like Belgium, like Portugal, Germany, etc. The rebels are the ones that they often call the word that starts with T and ends with ists. Yeah, the ones fighting back. So, next time you're watching the guys with the lightsabers doing what they do, remember what side you're on. And ask yourself, is the force with you? Dun, 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 dun. May the 4th be with you. The guy who plays him is Azayo. Shout out to all my Star Warsians. Are y'all watching Andor? Because honey child, Andor is giving us everything. It's giving us something we can feel, right? To let us know the force is real. Hey, okay. Andor is like just revolution and resistance. The whole thing. Okay? You connecting them dots, Miriam. I see you connecting them dots. I don't think y'all understand that because I turned in this manuscript of this book, I feel like the gorilla that y'all talking about 100 people fighting, I feel like that gorilla just walked off my back and was like, I'm going to see you. I'm going to see you. Because I feel like it's been on my back this whole time. Someone said, is Andor good? Understatement of the day. And for those of you who are like, oh, I never got into Star Wars, Andor is different than Star Wars in the tone, also in the in really just the way that they're approaching story, because it takes place between the clone. Okay, so between the first 3 Star Wars and the ones that first came out. All right, those are the that's where Andor takes place, between those two. And it's really talking about the building of the resistance. And it's talking about the different ways that resistance shows up. And it's really it's doing a lot of commentary on imperialism, on colonialism that Star Wars never outwardly did, but kind of just like generally did. So it's on Disney. I know. Let's get into some 60-second headlines, y'all. AmandaLand. 60-second headlines. And I run down some news right quick.
Run it down, mama. Put us on.
So this is y'all president.
Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know. It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth. But some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me.
Okay. So this interviewer is always the one who ends up interviewing Trump. And I'm not going to say much other than she makes choices. I don't know why she makes these particular choices. All right. I'm not sure why she makes these particular choices, but what she does in her questioning as a veteran interviewer, what she does in her questioning is that she gives him the opportunity to basically she creates a question for something that is actually a fact. All right. And, Kristen Welker, I don't know if she's doing that because she wants him to basically like show himself, but I think that she could do both. So let's talk about this. I didn't like when she said, don't you have to follow the Constitution? When you present a question in that way, you are literally making a fact into a question. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 8 of the Constitution outlines the president's oath, which includes the solemn promise to faithfully execute the office and to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. They literally put their hand on a book of their choice, and then they say, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So then that's that, right? So I know there's people here saying, well, if she would hardline him, they would refuse them future interviews and try to sue them. I'm not saying that she should hardline him. However, I am saying that there definitely is a line between a hard line and a soft line. Can I get a medium line that isn't just saying, don't ya? And even when we come back to the studio, I think there's something very necessary to saying things like this. But maybe they're saying, well, we'll just put him on blast and let the influencers, the content creators, the independent media, we'll let them do the fact checking. Here's the problem with that. What that says is that you're expecting folks to do next steps. And as journalists, I believe that to be incredibly irresponsible. And I don't like it. I know y'all are like, oh, I thought you were going to talk about Trump. No, because we already know he ain't it. We already know he's a liar. We already know that he absolutely knows what he's supposed to do. How are you the president and you don't know what you're supposed to do? I don't know if I'm supposed to uphold the Constitution. Of course you do. But this is a liar. This is the same person who said, I don't know nothing about Project 2025. And he literally wakes up every morning like, okay, Step 8. What do I got to do on Project 2025 today? Like, of course. Come on. So I think it's very just irresponsible. Constitution says what? So let's get into a longer story. Y'all still with me? Let me know if y'all still with me. Let me know if y'all still with me, because we gotta, this is gonna be some, I need y'all to lock in with me. Okay? I need y'all to lock in with me. Y'all still with me? Let me know in these comments if y'all still with me. Okay, y'all are still here. Adrian, Kristen can show him up as a liar without her looking weak. And that's all I'm saying. And showing him up as a liar, I think we always have to remember this little enclave of smart, thoughtful, informed people that we have here at Views from AmandaLand. This is 662 people. This video may get 5,000 views. There's a whole other like thing going on around whether or not the earth is flat on a whole other sector of the internets where Mark Lamont Hill is with the Joe Budden podcast. We can never get too, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm so hungry. We can never get too comfortable in assuming that we are the norm. We are not the norm. We're not the norm. Marissa, why do you keep okay. Does that seem like it's of the utmost importance right now? Relax. All these exclamation points. Okay. Shit. Lakia said, I unsubscribed once, but I think I'm just going to stay because I was subscribing too much. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what that means. So let's get into this next story. AmandaLand. Okay. New York University School of Law has barred 31 pro-Palestine law school students from campus facilities and demanded that they sign away their right to protest in exchange for being allowed to return. If the students deemed persona non grata don't renounce their right to protest on campus, they will be unable to sit for final exams. The law students are accused of participating in sit-ins, a time-honored form of non-violent demonstration that is allowed according to NYU policy. The sit-ins on March 4th and April 29th took place respectively at the school's Bobst Library and outside the office of the law school dean. I want us to talk about sit-ins and the history of student sit-ins. Now, we are in an unprecedented time for many reasons. But I'm going to tell you now, student sit-ins being shut down is not unprecedented in this nation. At the end of the day, these students have traditionally been the source for change in this country, which is ultimately why I believe there is such an effort to go after colleges. I also want to remind you that them going after colleges is not new either. Do you remember over the past, I would say 8 years, how there all of a sudden started to become this rhetoric around, oh, college, why go to college? You don't need to go to school. It's too expensive. Who wants college loans? There started to be this whole conversation that was saying that college is elitist, that you're not learning anything special in college. It's a waste of time. And I started to see this being really echoed on these internets in a way that I found really troubling. Because if we understand the history of access to higher education in this nation, we know that it is 100% racist. We also know that during Reagan's presidency, they actively raised the tuition of college because they said we do not want an informed proletariat. The proletariat are the people. The ruling class are the ones who are ruling over the people, either because they're lawmakers, they are corporate, they are oligarchs, or all the above. So when we talk about college, it is imperative that we contextualize what happens in colleges. And I'm going to tell you the main thing that happens in school: critical thinking exercises. That is the main thing that happens in higher education. Because when you are writing research papers that are forcing you to name a thesis and then go research where that thesis has been discussed and then find examples that either prove or disprove that thesis, you are forced to make connections. You are forced to do comparative analysis. You are forced to improve your pattern, come on, y'all. What's the word I'm looking for? Recognition skills. Okay? Imperative is a word I use a lot. Yes. So, February 1st, 1960. Okay? Ezell Blair Jr., David Richmond, Franklin McCain, and Joseph McNeil were 4 students from North Carolina A&T University. With the help of a local white businessman, Ralph Jones, they sat down at the Woolworth's lunch counter in downtown Greensboro, North Carolina. And this is what launched the sit-ins. They had an official policy at this Woolworth's that they weren't going to serve Black people. Okay. When we talk about Jim Crow apartheid, what I think a lot of people don't understand is that Jim Crow apartheid was enforced by the states and ignored by the federal government. That is how it was allowed to go forth. The 14th Amendment essentially says that we should not be allowed to have segregation. That is why when you had Percy, come on. I'm so hungry. I should never have got on here with all this knowledge. Percy versus, why am I forgetting this? Y'all help me out. I'm hungry. Not Brown versus Board of Education. Plessy versus Ferguson. Woo, child. I said Percy. So that's why when we have Plessy versus Ferguson, you know, Plessy was an octoroon, they call him. Okay. He was only 1/8 Black. He looked like a white man, but they have the 1 drop rule. And so because he had 1 drop of Black in him, he was not allowed to sit in the white, and he was not allowed to sit in a particular car on the train. This was the series of Black folks trying to test the laws of civil rights in this nation. And so what would happen is that they would test the law, and then it would come up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court would have to rule on it and set a precedent. But ultimately, those precedents were basically unconstitutional because at the end of the day, the 14th Amendment says that everybody in the United States who is a citizen should have all the same rights to the United States. So, by the way, when we're seeing a lot of the stuff that's going on with Trump right now, they are doing the opposite. They're literally taking the Black people's playbook of civil rights and using it against us for white gain. Everything that you're seeing these white people do right now is what they have learned from watching the civil rights movement. None of this is original. They are doing exactly what they do. Thievery always is their method. Black people in the United States continuously tested the laws of discrimination so that it would be forced up to the Supreme Court and then a precedent created. That is what you are seeing them do now. They are purposefully defying laws and precedents that have already been set so that it will be forced up to the Supreme Court, so they will then set a new precedent that supports their goal of a white Christian nationalist dictatorship. They learned it from us. These brothers did this on February 1st. By February 5th, some 300 students had joined the protests at Woolworths. The white man that was helping them had called the press, so now the cameras was on them. They paralyzed the lunch counter and other local businesses. In response to the success of the sit-in movement, which then also got followed by the SNCC, which is the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, by CORE, et cetera, dining facilities across the South were forced to be integrated by the summer of 1960. At the end of July, when many local students in college were on summer vacation, the Greensboro Woolworth quietly integrated its lunch counter. 4 Black Woolworths employees, Geneva Tisdale, Susie Morrison, Anitha Jones, and Charles Best, were the first to be served. I actually got this award from North Carolina A&T in 2020. And it is a statue based on these brothers. So thank you to y'all for this award. I want to point out something, that even though they're using okay, this is what I want to say. So when you have people that talk about the system and talk about using the system, and you have people talking about like using the courts, et cetera, and then you have folks who are like, oh, you know, why do we need to burn down the system, et cetera? It's because if you have a system that is so pliable that it allows for the same people who were oppressing to use the laws that were made precedent to free others from persecution to then put them back into persecution, it is not a system effective for all of the people. On April 4th, 1985, 7 students at Columbia University, members of the Coalition for a Free South Africa, CFSA, closed the doors to Columbia's administrative building, Hamilton Hall, and sat on the steps, blockading the entrance. They were there to protest university divestment from South African apartheid. Okay? Soon after, there was a march. The other members of CFSA said, we coming out. We coming out. They joined them. The marchers saw the blockade and said, we here. Within 2 hours, it went from 7 folks to 250. At one point, 7 days later, Jesse Jackson went over there to talk, and there was 5,000 people. 1,000 students was sitting out there in the blockade by April 8th. It was at this point that the trustees said, okay, we're going to have to talk about this. We're going to have to talk about this. So the trustees in late August agreed with the students. They agreed with the students that divestiture was not only the moral option, but an economically viable one as well. On October 7th, 1985, they proceeded to divest the university and the remainder of their investments with South African connections. It is very important to acknowledge that the connection between the United States and Israel is different than their connection to South Africa, as well as their connection to the Jim Crow apartheid of the South. I would say it's deeper. It's more entwined. And I would also say that a large reason why it's also more deeper and entwined is because it involves Black people to help perpetuate it, who don't even realize that they are actively and effectively expanding white supremacy. Now, we see that there's going to be a vote. There's going to be a vote in the Senate for HR bill, I think it's 187 on a mother. HR bill, where's my notes? For HR bill, dang, where'd I write it down? Where's Kashawn when I need her? Kashawn always be swooping in with the, here's what you're looking for. Why didn't I write this? Oh, I have it right here. HR bill 867. HR bill 867 seeks to punish American citizens who boycott Israel with fines up to $1 million and up to 20 years in prison. Now, Dropsite News has compiled some plausible examples of how HR 867 could lead to Americans being penalized or criminalized for entirely voluntary values-based actions. I also want to point out that this is bipartisan. All y'all talk about Democrats this, Democrats that. Any Democrats that are actively supporting measures by Israel to eliminate the right to free speech are 1,000% in cahoots with the MAGA objective. There is no, well, I'm kind of, sort of, but nah. If you are over here saying, well, we're not going to support those rights, but you're over here saying, but we're going to fight for you in these rights, then you are in support. Of course it's bipartisan. You think Chuck Schumer is going to be against this? No. You think Cory Booker is going to be against this? You think Hakeem Jeffries is going to be against this? You know how much money these people get from Israel lobbies beyond AIPAC? We're only 6 states away from a constitutional convention. And let me tell you what happens at a constitutional convention. They rewrite the goddamn Constitution. Lysandra, can you tell me what the 6 states are that are holding up the Constitutional Convention? So here's some examples of how HR 867, were it put in place, could affect regular folks. 1, a small business owner declines to stock settlement-made wine. The bill was pulled? Hold on now. Let me see. Talk amongst yourselves. I don't see anything here that says it was pulled. Yeah, I don't see anything here that says it was pulled. I've said the bill numbers so many times, Jessica. 867. Oh, she might be behind actually. Yeah, I don't see anything that says the bill was pulled. So here's an example that DropSite gives. A grocery store owner in California chooses not to sell wines produced in Israeli settlements in the West Bank, citing international law violations. Right? If this decision aligns with an IGO recommendation, like one from the United Nations Human Rights Council, that could trigger penalties under HR 867. Here's another example. A journalist publishes a do not buy guide. Let's say a writer publishes a guide listing companies involved in the occupation and encourages consumers to avoid them, referencing data from the Palestinian government. This act of publishing and advocating such a list could be penalized for promoting a boycott. Here's another example. Let's say an investor divests from a company on ethical grounds, which is what the encampments are working to do. And here we go. 5 Democrats and 19 Republicans co-sponsored HR 867. Please name the Democrats. An American investor chooses to sell stock in a corporation doing business in Israel in Israeli settlements after reading an EU report urging businesses to withdraw. This divestment, if linked to IGO guidance, could be treated as illegal under the bill. Now, what we have to remember is also this. We were always going to end up in a space where what's ethical is illegal. You know that, right? We were always going to end up here because the people that are in charge, that are making the laws, have no ethics. So this was always going to happen. And the bill itself is illegal. But legality is not a measure of morality. And that's something that not enough people in the United States understand, which is why it drives me crazy when people say, well, was so-and-so convicted, or, just let the courts be the judge. The courts do not judge based on principles, morals, and ethics. This is why I will always say our communities have to be the judge and jury. I will always take somebody to the community before I take them to the police if I have a community to take them to. Which is why people to this day be on my head about, well, you should have reported that football player to the police if everyone was telling you he was problematic. No, I'm not even going to put him in that kind of danger, but I will first report him to the people. And in many of these Jewish communities, they police themselves, for the record. There's no reason why we can't either. And that was what the Panthers was really on in the beginning. We need to police ourselves and police the police. So I feel like it's very short-sighted to base your determinants of whether or not something or an act has been committed is a crime against humanity based on a system that actively is not rooted in the protection of humanity. And please say that. I do not know why people think there ain't no more Jewish gangsters out here. Did y'all watch The Godfather? When Meyer, like, hello? Buddy said, I'm going back to Israel. Y'all don't know about Meyer Lansky? Y'all never watched Bugsy? Come on now. Come on now. Pop culture be telling you so much. and it's like, but you know, because real directors and real writers have so many layers in the writing, right? It's like you're watching the story, but then they're also dropping in all these other things that are giving you so many truths, and they make the richness of the story deep and robust. The reality around the efforts to basically shut everyone down from being against the nation of Israel is that they want there to be, there's something bigger that they want to do. And I have a feeling I know what it is. I'm going to talk about it in a second. But look at what they doing in France. France said, we not with it. We don't like it. And we're not going for it. I don't know why none of my videos showed up today, y'all. I really thought I had taken care of this. Okay. France said, no, we not going for it. We don't like it. We don't love it. We're not going for it. I need to find the video and post it. But so let me give you a real quick history lesson, real quick. The Panama Canal was created by the United States because the United States helped for Panama to be created. Panama wanted to be its own nation, but it was essentially a colony of Colombia. And they wanted to break off and be their own nation. The United States saw an opportunity in this and said, all right, we're going to help you be your own nation, but then we want to be able to use your nation. Every time the United States offers to help, it is always for their own good. It is a narcissistic society. So what Panama ended up being established because the United States said, we're going to help you, and then was the first to acknowledge them as a sovereign state. Then they set to building the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal took 10 years to build, and mad people died building the Panama Canal. Jamaicans was shipped in to work in the Panama Canal. That's why you have so many Black people in Panama. And that's also why Panama gets to be a part of the West Indian Day Parade, because you have so many Caribbean people that went to Panama to work on the canal. So when you had Donald Trump saying, well, we should be able to have the Panama Canal, we should be able to own this because it's ours, what he's saying is that we, as the United States, brokered a deal with Panama to say, we're going to help you get your own country as long as we can use your country. They want to do the same thing in Israel. So your man's Benjamin Netanyahu was up in front of the UN last year, I believe. It was either last year or 2023, with a literal map that showed the canal that they want to build right through Gaza. This canal would allow for them to control trade without having to use Egypt-run Suez Canal. This now allows for the white supremacist outpost of Israel to be in control of trade to Europe without having to utilize the Arab country of Israel. Because as you can see, here's Europe. Of Egypt. Here's Europe. The Suez Canal is right here. They're like, we don't even want to do that. We're going to just circumnavigate you, and we're going to make a canal here in Gaza. Thank you, Miss Latia. America wants the waterways. This is why United States is also trying to get Greenland. Because Greenland is up here, right? If they own Greenland, they own this waterway. And the earth is round. So this waterway, okay? Remember, the earth is round. Hold on. Let me show you on a globe. Hold on. The earth is round. So if this is the United States, North America, this is Greenland, and you own Greenland, you also now have the waterways. What's right here? What's right here, y'all? That's Russia. That's Russia. So, when we are talking about these things on a surface level, it's important, but there's also, it goes deeper, it goes deeper, it goes deeper, and it really ends up really being about money every time. Really ends up being about money every time. And that is why we say capitalism is the root of evil. Because if you are willing to do all of this harm for the ownership of someone else's resources and money, then there is no limit. That's why I had to leave California. That's why I had to leave Hollywood and LA, because Hollywood is a system run on money. It's not run on art. And I'm an artist. It's run on getting deals and how do you get this deal and how do you do this and how do you do that? That's what it's run on. I was never going to survive there because I don't live like that. I don't exist like that. And I refuse to. I refuse to. So shout out to the students at NYU. Yes, Jade. If they control the waterways, they control the trade routes and access. Yes. Now, what's happening right now is a much bigger conversation around the other nations, because the other nations are also bordering these waterways. The other nations, if they squad up, it ends up being a real world war for the waterways. This is also why it's very important to know geography. Oh, Miriam just said it. Because we are in a globe, we're on a globe. Okay? I also want to point out that Greenland also has glaciers that has mineral deposits similar to some of the minerals that are used in building the batteries that they're getting from Congo. And Cassie brings us home. So we literally have to root against our own country until we are all free of capitalism. Yes. And this is why people will say leftists are the worst. This is why you have folks that tell me that I'm, anti-Black, that I'm against everything, et cetera, et cetera. And that's not the case. I come from a tradition of Black radicals. And Black radicals understand that capitalism is literally the root of all Black oppression. So yes, that is the answer. I'm going to get into a public sales announcement when we get back. But first up, I want to remind you that this week's episode of Small Doses Podcast is Side Effects of Neurodivergence with our guest, Margot Jaffe. Check it out.
With the ABCs of getting shit done without losing your shit. So automation, body doubling, and chunking. Automation is if there's routine things that you can automate, put it on automatic or outsource so you don't have to do it. Great. Body doubling, doing it with somebody else. So if you're going to fold laundry, call your friend and talk on the phone. So you having somebody with you. So basically boring shit is easier when you're doing it with a friend.
That's what I do to package my orders. I I go on live. And at first I was doing that because it was like, oh, I can talk about the thing that I'm packaging. But then I realized, no, this is allowing me to do this far more effectively. Like I can like stay in it longer. What's the C?
So C is for chunking. So it sounds basic, but basically thinking about when you have a big project, breaking it down into small chunks, small, easy pieces.
You can check out this week's episode right now, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, wherever you get your podcasts. And Margot is lovely and fab. Okay, let's get into our public seals announcement. AmandaLand. PSA. Dear white people, when are y'all gonna actually fight for something worth fighting for?
Because what it will do, I'll give you a case in point.
Social worker Emily Feiner, New York District 17 constituent, forcibly removed during Representative Mike Lawler's town hall. She's like, I'm not going nowhere. She was singled out. She had, I guess, like yelled something. And people are like, this is ridiculous. They started yelling.
Return to your seats. Please return to your seats.
He's not answering questions.
Please settle down.
Shame on y'all. I done seen white folks fight for a sports team. Okay? I done seen white folks fight to not wear masks in a pandemic. Like scrap. I done seen white folks fight little black children wanting to go to school. Right now, you got white folks giving all types of money to a white lady on the internet who on video called a black child with autism the N-word because she found him looking for a toy in her bag at a playground. She has raised over $300,000 in support of her racism. White people, y'all know how to squad up. If I was this lady, I would try and find everybody's phone number from that event and call them and say, why you didn't do something about it? Y'all think yelling shame, shame, shame is something? All of y'all should have been on your feet. All of y'all should have at the very least left. But reality is all of y'all should have swarmed. Swarmed. This is why this nation is going to go down in flames. Because y'all don't even know how to love each other. Y'all don't even know how to protect each other. You sat there and let that lady get carried out of there enough to yell, shame, shame, shame. And then you had the nerve to sit back down and turn your head back to listen to Representative Mike Lawler? Unacceptable. Low quality whites. No. When is it appropriate to get inappropriate? It's not when they carrying an old Jewish lady who's a social worker for your constituency out the door for no reason. Is that not the right time to get inappropriate? Because I would venture to say it would be very apropos to stand up and to block the exit. But you're scared. You're scared of losing your jobs. You're scared of losing your status. And that is why this is where we are. if you think sitting there and listening to that person who literally just enacted a sort of martial law in his own constituency meeting, town hall, if you think sitting there and listening to them and giving that person respect is going to get you anything, I'm deeply disturbed. And we see that these Republicans and anybody who's doing these town halls, they're getting real bold. They're getting real bold. They're becoming their own dictators. I just saw somebody in Arkansas tell his constituency, if y'all gonna ask me questions, then I'm gonna need I'm gonna need the Arkansas PD here. President Trump just enacted an executive order that sends federal funds and sends federal people to be a part of the police departments in your cities. This is the intertwining of the federal government with state government enforcement, law enforcement. This is a quiet enactment of martial law. Remember the whole April 20th? He's going to enact the Insurrection Act. He's enacting it. He's doing it without saying it. And y'all are sitting here saying it, shame, 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 while also doing nothing to stop the acts happening right in front of your face. Shame on you. PSA. Hey, come on now. What's up? Show your love. This is a really good episode, y'all. Show your love. Ooh, do, 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 do. Show your love. Come on now, show your love. Ha, 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 ha. Oh, wait, hold on. So we have stopped watching The Last of Us because I found out that The Last of Us is actually based on Israel and Palestine, and the creator is considering the zombies in The Last of Us to be Palestinians. Yeah. They just killed Pedro Pascal anyway. There's no reason to watch anymore. Show your love. Show your love. Thank you for watching. Show your love. Tell a friend to show your love. Drop it in the Cash App. Hit me in the Cash App, baby. Drop me a super, baby. Miss Latia just called it for what it is. All y'all strongly worded, me email people. Y'all not gonna change the world with a double space, with a shift and a Control-Alt-Delete. You better be ready to get in them streets. Didn't you just hear homeboy from Chicago? Yes, well, maybe not Chicago, it was more like Illinois, but Pritzker said, it's time for disobedience. So show your love and get on out there. Show your love and teach about resistance. Show your love, and I can't rhyme today because I'm really too hungry. But yeah, JB Pritzker was like, get out in the streets. Now, Black people, I don't blame you for not getting out in the streets. They just had this whole protest, okay? An entire protest just went down for the federal workers in California, and they arrested, I think, 5 Black women, 5 elder Black women. Again, they were arrested. Why? Because did anyone stop it from happening? I want to thank y'all for dropping supers. I appreciate you. I'm going to work on getting those cards, figuring out how to get those cards made. I feel like I'm on to something really dope and special, and I'm going to get it together. I promise. I'm going to get it together. So thank y'all, everybody, for joining us today. We're back here at Views from AmandaLand. You know how we do. Monday through Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Tell a friend. Okay? Thank you, Shamika, for donating to Proyecto Faro. I appreciate you. And I will be hosting Proyecto Faro's fundraising event on June 12th. in Rockland County. Hope to see you all there. I'm absolutely going to eat a high quality meal, Iman Khalil. And I want to shout out all of my Patreon subscribers. Please consider subscribing to Patreon, where we are doing a whole lot of other stuff outside of what we do here in terms of talking about different things. We have a whole community over at Patreon. Honestly, I feel like you should just join my Patreon for the sheer fact that we have an entire chat just dedicated to our pets. Like, there are times where I'll literally be like, I just need to go to the pet chat real quick. Patreon also gets access to all of my merch ahead of time. I'm also going to start giving Patreon discount. Discount codes, etc. So it's a great place to go. Come on, check it out. Now that I'm finished with this book, I really am about to lock in on doing a whole lot of other content on Patreon that I hope people will subscribe to come and get access to. But if you can't, I understand. I respect it. I respect it. It's been another great one here with you guys. And it's going to be another great one tomorrow. We have a fabulous disruptor. Olivia Odenucci will be joining us tomorrow. If you don't know who Olivia Odenucci is, whenever you see somebody saying, okay, remember the video of Bernie Sanders when he was walking down like by a lake, and he was asked, like, what are your thoughts on Mahmoud Khalil? What are your thoughts on Mahmoud Khalil? And he got all like, irritable, like a old man trying to return soup at a deli. That was Olivia. Olivia's always there. Remember when all those people were protesting outside of Blinken's house for weeks? That was a bunch of Palestinian women and Olivia Odenucci. So Olivia is going to be joining us tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to it. And I will be here with you all. So see you tomorrow right here, bright and early, 10 a.m. Eastern at Views from AmandaLand. Thank you for waking up on the right side of history. 30 seconds of stillness. I enjoyed laughing and learning with you. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And tell your friends. Also, listen to the podcast. It's available everywhere pods are casted. Listen ad-free by subscribing to Patreon Amanda Seals. Come on and join the Seals Squad. Views from AmandaLand. Live 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Wednesday, with content on Thursday and Friday at YouTube Amanda Seals TV. Smart, funny, and